So next in our demonstration, we want to show you some tools that Solid Edge has that helps you with some display configurations and also monitor your designs as you make changes and help you find parts. And so one of those ways is I need to be able to show some parts, but I need to find it. And rather than go through a lengthy pathfinder or tree, I know what the name of this file is or what the document number or the part number of this file is. And so I'm going to tell Solid Edge that I want to search for any hidden parts that has a document number that contains 2200, and I can see down at the bottom that it found two parts, so I'm just going to tell it to show it, and it brings the parts forward for me to do rather than display all hidden parts and kind of go through there. I know exactly what I'm looking for based off of a number, and our query tool helps you find it very quickly. Next, I just want to be able to show only or isolate some files on this screen, but I would like to capture this display configuration, but I don't want to engrave it in stone just yet. And so what I want to do is I want to take a snapshot. And so what Solid Edge enables us to do is take the snapshot of how it's displayed on here. So if I go back and let's say I want to change to a different configuration and work over there and go, I need to go back to that configuration that I save, I can always revert back to that same snapshot. And once I'm comfortable with it, then I can actually save it as a configuration for everyone else to use. And so it's a very nice, easy way to capture something that you may want to use and reuse and write over if you want to at a later time. But for sensors, design sensors inside of Solid Edge. These are tools that constantly monitor your design intent. And in doing that, we have some tools inside of assembly will monitor distance, monitor a dimension or an weight or any kind of property that inside of the variable table can be placed in there. And we also have some custom sensors that we'll get to in a second. But what I want to do is I want to tell Solid Edge to monitor the distance between these two faces here. And I'm just going to give it a name of clearance. And I want to give it a range, a horizontal range or a true or false, but this case here, and I want to tell Solid Edge, tell me when it is not between 150 and 160, and we'll give a range for our sensor, maybe 140 and 170. And now this design sensor is going to constantly monitor that distance. So if someone comes in and they make a change to this part, or someone makes a change to this part, then when they come back into to the assembly, it's going to tell them if something has changed. But let's go into and let's make a change to this part. And a couple things I want to point out to you is one is if I look at the flat pattern of this part, one of the things that you will see is that there is a gray box or gray shaded area that's showing us what the blank of this part is. And so what that is telling me is that inside of Solid Edge, if you hover over the flat pattern, we're telling you what the cut size is, but we're also telling you what the maximum and maximum value for our blank is. And that can be found easily under the Solid Edge option, where we can just go under flat treatments and you can see that the user can define what that flat pattern is. So out on the shop floor, they can find what sheet size that they have or blank size that they have for this sheet metal type part. And we can also not only monitor it here in the Pathfinder, but we can also monitor that with sensors. Again, any type of variable that can be monitored. So as I'm going through my design, as I lengthen things, shorten things, change things, these sensors are going to tell me when I validate my blank size. So we're constantly changing that. And so one of the other things that I want to monitor is the weight of my part. So I'm going to just come out here and I want to take a look at the weight of my part. It's telling me it's 14.521, and I want it to just tell me true or false, and I need it to tell me when it is greater than 14. And so we'll just put in 14, and you instantly see one place you see is, I want to focus over here on the right, you see this exclamation point. That is telling us that there is a design sensor that is invalid. And so you can easily just come over here to the sensor tab, let it fly out, and you can see that there's something wrong with the weight, and that it's currently not in the range of our 14 that we've described. You can always go back in here and you can edit to get a little bit more information if you want, or even change how this sensor is displayed. If you didn't want a go no go gauge, you can do a horizontal range, and let's say greater than 14, and give me a range of say 13 and let's say 15. And you can get a horizontal range so that when you come over here, you are given even more in-depth information. So you have the flexibility of how these design sensors are displayed for the user. Next, we want to take a look at airflow. We have an engine that sits on top of here. Maybe we need some airflow to flow through here. And we want to go through and take a look at that. And so we want to get a surface area of this particular face, and it's telling us what that is. And this is just a general example of what this is, and I'm going to tell it the sensor less than, let's say 50,000, and we'll just give it a range. And so you can always constantly see, even if it goes out of the range, you can see exactly where it stands. And so let's take a look at what Solid Edge and what synchronous technology provides for you in the ease of making these changes. And so as I go through and make my changes, the one thing I can do is, let's say I just make my change to a certain distance. I can type in the exact distance that I want. The first thing you'll notice is that our triangle goes away. Well, that is telling us that all of our sensors are in place and everything is good. Our weight is good. Our airflow is good. And one of the other things that we want to be able to bring to the table is the ability to, so let's take a look at, we want to know what the cost is going to be for this particular part. And so you can monitor the cost, and this is based on how you build your part. It's looking at the features and things that you do to the part, and set that in there. So we want to say, tell me when this gets greater than 10, and we'll give it a range of, let's say 5 and 15. What the heck? And so we can see that even our cost is within range. So you can see how sensors can help you in your design process. And the nice thing about this is that this stays with the file. So as it moves from one designer to another, if it so chooses, then the sensors are always going to tell them if they validate or invalidate something in your design. And so you're keeping your design intent with these sensors. So we hope you've learned a lot about sensors today and how they can help you in your design process, and also keep your design intent inside of your assembly and also inside of your part files. And so that concludes this section of our sensor demonstration.